This is your year to ring in the deals and ring in the keys to your brand new ride during our Ring in the Savings event at Capital Ford. Like a new 2025 Ford F-250 Super Duty with 0% APR for 60 months. Or a new 2025 Ford Bronco Sport. Just $495 a month lease for 36 months with no money down. This is your year, so drive into 2026 the right way during our Ring in the Savings event at Capital Ford in Santa Fe.
Hey, what's going on, Lobo Nation? We welcome you to another episode of the Pit Press Live. The final 8 teams in Division I college basketball are set, and UNM men's basketball is one of them. The Lobos will take on Tulsa in the semifinal round of the NIT on Thursday, April 2nd at the Hinkle Allen Fieldhouse in Indianapolis. Tip-off is set for 5 p.m. Mountain Time on ESPN. I am Nick Nunez, joined by the owner of the Pit Press, Eric Moulton, and a Lobo fan since 1970, Ed Nunez. Guys, lots of basketball to break down this weekend. Why don't we start with the NCAA tournament? Exciting ball, the final 4 teams that are left, Michigan, Illinois, Arizona, and UConn. A big play by UConn's Braylon Mullins, a three-pointer with 0.3 seconds gave the Huskies the win. Dad, why don't we start with you, man? What were your thoughts on the Elite 8 games this weekend?
Well, today I was watching that game with your mom, and that last play, they're down by 2. UConn isn't. They're pressing, and Caden Boozer tries to throw over the top, loose ball. One of the Cabana, or one of the UConn players, passed it to Mullins, and Mullins launched right by the logo and nailed it with nothing but net. Stunning win. Duke had one more shot with 0.4 seconds left, and it wasn't enough. They led by 19. So a heck of a win for UConn. Dan Hurley, that guy's probably one of my favorite coaches to watch because he's insane. You don't know what you're going to get from Dan Hurley. And, that was probably one of the greatest wins in NCAA history with Christian, along with Christian Laettner's shot against Kentucky. That was probably right up there. So that game there, and then Michigan just running all over Tennessee. They look great. Arizona winning big yesterday. So Arizona and Michigan, which I thought would be the championship game. I was hoping they would. I understand they're in the same bracket. They're in one game, and then UConn and Illinois in the other one. Illinois, Brad Underwood did a great job of recruiting with Paige Stojakovic's son, and then they have that big guy Izovich inside. So the Final Four should be really good. Arizona and Michigan, keep an eye on that. That game might be epic, man. That might be an iconic game that you're not going to want to miss. But either way, some great games this weekend.
Eric, let's go to you, man. We have a tournament bracket challenge. The Pit Press does. We've partnered with, Eric, you can help me out. I think it's Casey Optical, some pairs of sunglasses for our tournament winners. But Eric, your thoughts on the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8 matchups and the Final Four that is set, Michigan taking on Arizona and Illinois taking on UConn.
Yeah, well, Sweet 16, it was the first time in a really long time that there weren't any mid-majors. So you can kind of see the disparity for the big boys separating themselves from some of the mid-major schools. But just some of the games yesterday, I thought Purdue, Illinois was really good. Illinois is loaded, man. They've got some uh, strong line of European players. They got a lot of size, and they just pose too much for Purdue a little bit. And I did get a chance to not. I didn't watch the Michigan game today, but I did watch the Duke second half. Man, that's a tough one to swallow if you're a Duke fan. They blew a 19-point lead. It looked like they were really pulling away there. Dominated the first half. UConn just didn't have any answers, and they slowly clubbed themselves back. And you got a feel for the Boozer twin. That just made a really bad decision, man. It was Duke had the ball. They were up by 2, less than 10 seconds left, and all he had to do was hold on to the ball and get fouled, go down to the free throw line, and it looked like he panicked there for a second, got rid of it, and it ended up getting deflected. And then Mullins hit a big shot, man. It was a close to like a 30-footer or something like that from deep. And I mean, that's what March Madness is built for, man. I kind of jumped off my couch when that went in. It was almost unbelievable to the point I'm still having a hard time trying to fathom that Duke actually blew a 19-point lead, man, because you got to feel for those guys. But overall, it's been good basketball, man. I feel for the mid majors not really getting a shot. I know Utah State took Arizona kind of down to the wire, and that has been one of the most kind of exciting games of the tournament. They've kept it the closest out of some of the big boy teams, but you could just see, man, they're just starting to separate themselves. So, yeah, but let's talk more NIT, more Lobo land type discussion. And I don't know, Nick, you didn't really watch too much college basketball, you said, this weekend, but did you have any thoughts before we moved on?
No, dude, I did watch the final play. Well, actually, to be honest, I did tune in a little bit to the Duke UConn game, and UConn was up, man. I was watching at halftime. Iron Eagle, Grant Hill, and is it Bill Rafferty who was on the call? I can't remember. Either way, man, I mean, it seemed like Duke had it in the bag. Alex Caraman really couldn't get involved from what the broadcast team was saying. And then I go back and check the score. I was talking to my wife. I was like, what happened? So I watched the final play, and, we'll go to some of the comments here. Kylo Sanchez, 505, exactly. Duke blew it. Luis Torres, 1268. Duke did not even have to cross the half court with only 10 seconds on the clock. So, yeah, man, I mean, that's really kind of the only game I really paid attention to. And then I did watch a little bit of Arizona and Purdue yesterday, just because we've got an Albuquerque native, Daniel Jacobson, playing for Purdue. So I was interested. He got some important minutes at the beginning of the second half. Purdue, I think, was up by 7 at half. And then Arizona, man, I agree with you guys. It should be Michigan and Arizona, two juggernaut teams that have a lot of depth, a lot of athleticism, and some NBA caliber guys. So excited to see that one. The men's Final Four will kick off on Saturday, April 6th. First, you got Illinois taking on UConn. That's 4:09 Mountain Standard Time. And then it's Michigan taking on Arizona. Tip-off time set for 6:49 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Those games will be aired on TBS, True TV, or HBO Max. Eric, one more topic that I think you wanted to chat about before we get into the Tulsa, New Mexico preview was a coaching rumor in the now Pac-12 conference. There may be a front runner for the Utah State head coaching vacancy, and that is rumored to be Mark Mad Dog Madsen, head coach at Cal in his third season, previously coached at Utah Valley. Eric, let's go to you first, man. What are your thoughts on this coaching rumor with Mark Madsen being the front runner for the Utah State job?
Definitely got the pedigree, right? NBA ties with the Lakers. It kind of a surprising name to pop up. I didn't really even consider him. He's kind of been an afterthought. I know that Cal had recently transitioned to the ACC. I didn't follow them too closely, but I mean, long time ago when we first started the Pit Press, Ryan and I actually had the opportunity to interview Mark Madsen when he was with Utah Valley, when we previewed the Utah Valley in the New Mexico game. That was also the first round of the NIT, probably like 3 seasons ago, I think it was.
It was.
And super nice guy, really energetic. It would be interesting to see him in Logan, right? I think that he is also Mormon or of that descent, and I have a little bit of criticism there. I just don't know if he, obviously feeling the the Calhoun shoes are really big shoes to fill from a coaching perspective. Mark Madsen doesn't have the coaching pedigree or the experience that Calhoun had. He's doing it at the ACC level. And Nick, I know that you mentioned he did knock off the likes of like North Carolina this year. They also won against Miami. But I just don't know how that translates into a Utah State basketball. I mean, we're starting to see the transfer portal impact them a little bit. So he's going to have to bring in his new guys. Does Falslev stick around? Some of those guys. So there's a lot of questions there on what he can do. I mean, at this point, it's just a rumor. But my only question there is just overall coaching experience. It's really hard to replace a guy like Calhoun. And does Mark Madsen have what it takes to kind of build from within?
Yeah, same question to you. Mark Madsen makes $2.8 million per year in his third season at Cal. Former Utah State head coach who took the head job at Cincinnati, Jared Calhoun, last season $1.85 million was his salary. Utah State is believed to get a significant contract buyout for Jared Calhoun in the area of around $4 million. Dad, the question to you, is the Utah State job a downgrade from the Cal job in a power conference school in the ACC?
That's a legitimate question and something that Madsen's going to have to think about. You laid out all the reasons why it might be. So he was at Utah Valley. He is of the Mormon religion. So I could see why that they would be targeting him to maybe come there. But like you mentioned, ACC to Big 12, I don't know. That's a heck of a move there. But, they've had success, though. And Eric, you made a good point there saying he doesn't have the experience of Coach Calhoun. But let's remember, they've had Coach Odom there, Danny Sprinkle, Jared Calhoun, and they've managed to keep that ship afloat pretty darn well through all those coaching changes. So if they're targeting him, there's a reason why they've had good success. And I'm surprised because normally there's a step back with a new coach and a new program, and they've kept going. They've kept going, man. The only tournament bid was Utah State, and now they're moving on to the Pac-12. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Eric, I remember listening to that interview you and Ryan did with him. He's quite a character. When he played for the Lakers, he mentioned Shaquille O'Neal had taught him how to be a pro, brought him some suits and a truck. So I think he was a very humble guy when you interviewed him, you and Ryan. So you know what? That could be a very real possibility about him moving to Utah State.
Thank you for joining us on the Pit Press Live. Let's shift gears now and talk UNM men's basketball's NIT semifinal game against Tulsa on Thursday. Again, tip-off 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. If you're headed to Indianapolis, the game will be at the Hinkle Fieldhouse, classic old-school arena, home of the Butler Bulldogs. It'll be a cool experience for the Lobos to get to play there. If you're going to be here in Albuquerque and you're looking for a place to tune into the game, check out the Bourbon House, located in the Heights of Albuquerque, New Mexico, a sponsor of the Pit Press. They are going to have lots of TVs up and running on Thursday at 5 p.m. with the game on. They've got some drink specials. Eric, we'll get some more information about that. But to the matchup itself, why don't we start with Tulsa's resume? So Tulsa comes from the American Athletic Conference, 29-7 record and 13-5 in the AAC. They're number 52 in the net, number 59 in the Ken Pom. They've got a 3-5 record versus quad 1 and quad 2 opponents. Eric, let's go to you first, man. Obviously when a team wins 29 games in a season, that's a huge accomplishment. It kind of speaks for itself, but maybe some strength of schedule questions for this Tulsa Golden Hurricane team.
Yeah, man, not a ton jumps out to me in terms of their overall opponents, but they do have some similar opponents that UNM has played. They did knock off a San Jose State team who gave UNM fits in the Mountain West tournament. They ended up beating San Jose State earlier in the season, 81-51, and they also knocked off New Mexico State, 83-70 on a neutral court. But outside of that, man, their schedule just nothing really screams out at you that you can look at. They did lose to Wichita State twice. They did beat them once, though, in this most recent NIT. That was the quarterfinal game to reach the semifinals. But the AAC is somewhat of a competitive conference. I know that a lot of people around the country compare it to the likes of the Mountain West. They did beat a Memphis team, North Texas. They also beat 82-66 North Texas. I mean, both those programs have had some success in recent history. But this season, I mean, just you looking at the overall quad strength, 3-5 versus quad 1 and quad 2, not quite up to the standards of what UNM did. I think UNM's right around the 8-8 mark in the quad 1 and quad 2 games. But Nick, you've done a lot of research on this team, man. What stands out to you most within their I guess their season resume?
Yeah, for sure, man. Just kind of comparing the American Athletic Conference and the Mountain West. I mean, the American only has one or two quad two teams. And I mean, true quad 1 and quad 2 teams. You got South Florida, number 45 in the net. Wichita State was at 78 in the net. And then you got Tulsa, I believe, at 50, whatever we had them at. And then if you compare that to the Mountain West Conference, you've got Utah State, 26 net, San Diego State, 47 net, UNM, 46 net, Grand Canyon, 71 net, Nevada was 70, and Colorado State was 87. So I think across the board, UNM had a much stronger conference schedule. I was listening to the announcers, I believe in Tulsa's AAC quarterfinal win over North Texas, and they said that 9 of Tulsa's 13 conference wins were by double digits, man. So if you kind of look at those numbers, yes, they've won 29 games. A lot of them have been blowouts, but this is a good team, man, and we're going to talk about why. Eric, why don't we switch gears and look at Tulsa's offensive identity? Here's what jumps off the page for the Golden Hurricane. 85 points per game. They shoot 27 three-pointers per game. By comparison, UNM shoots 25.9. So right behind them, they shoot one more three per game than UNM does. They are 38% from deep. They shoot 24 free throws per game, and they are 78% from the line. Couple extra notes I want to give, and then, Dad, I want to go to you. 85 points per game. That's the number 15 scoring offense in all of NCAA Division I. We talked about the three-pointers, 27 per game. That's number 41 in NCAA Division I. Compare that to UNM, who, again, 26 threes per game. That's number 88. And then three-point shooting, just the amount of three-pointers. Tulsa on the season, 381 threes on the season compared to UNM, 338. Dad, Tulsa team that shoots a lot of threes. You watched some film on them today. What are your thoughts on Tulsa's three-point shooting?
One guy in particular stood out to me, and there's others. Tylen Riley's the guy that's they're 6'3" junior guard. He was the second team all AAC guard, 15 points per game, 4.4 assists, 3.9 rebounds. So I watched 3 different games with him, and they should set a lot of ball screens, a lot of dribble handoff. Once he gets going downhill, their other player, David Green, who's we're not sure if he's banged up and is going to be able to play or not, but he'll drive and kick and find him, and Green can put it on the floor and stretch. So, but I want to mention Miles Barnstable. I think for when I watched him, you mentioned this, Nick. You can't give him any airspace. He'll fire in transition. He'll fire. They set a lot of ball screens for him too. If he has any kind of space at all, and he's got good form, he'll square to the basket. He'll finish. I saw him finish against Rice in the transition with a left-hand dunk. So 85 points a game. They're very offensively proficient once they get rolling downhill. You mentioned their big man. He'll set a lot of you also got Ada Popula, the junior guard. The junior guard, Aiden Popula, will also fire threes. Tyler Barron, the junior forward, will set huge screens. And I saw him set, some big screens. New Mexico had problems with San Diego State setting those big screens and getting over them. So offensively, I was impressed with what I saw, the highlights that I saw. And so I think they're going to be a team that New Mexico is really going to – they did a good job in scouting against Sam Houston. And I thought Eric Olin did a great job of scouting against George Washington and St. Joe's. So I think it's going to be a challenge for UNM all across the board.
We're talking UNM men's basketball's semifinal matchup with the Tulsa Golden Hurricane. We're breaking down Tulsa's offensive identity. Eric, I want to go to you. We're talking about Tulsa's ability to get to the free throw line. Once again, they shoot 24 free throws per game. The guy that gets to the line more than anyone is Tylen Riley, their point guard, 6'3", number 10 on the team. He shot 17 of 17 from the free throw line in Tulsa's quarterfinal win over North Texas in the American Athletic quarterfinal. So, Eric, you've seen a little bit of Tylen Riley, and maybe we can pull up some of his highlights. But just talk about him being the catalyst and the guy who gets to the line and makes things happen for Tulsa.
Yeah, man. Pure, true primary ball handler for them. Really dynamic guard, really athletic. And he's not looking to score right off the bat. He's kind of like a slasher, kind of looking for those pocket passes, slice and dice, kick out to the shooters that he does have, but he also coming off a lot of ball screens. And what I mean by slashers, he's also looking to attack the rim. And let me bring up some of the highlights that we brought up here. But he is, again, the primary ball handler for them. Really athletic, strong guard. It's going to be a tough matchup. I kind of anticipate Dayton Albury matching up with him because they're just going to go head to head, man. And I think Dayton Albury is probably going to be the best person to guard him just because of his aggressiveness on defense and just kind of being more of a ball heckler. But he's a really good guard, man. But he's not the best player in their team either, man. This team is loaded. They're more perimeter focused. They don't have a true big inside. So I'll look for them to how the Lobos are going to defend the perimeter and how are they going to limit guys or really just be disruptive with a guy like Riley, because once he gets in his groove and once he is able to get downhill, he's not going to hesitate to shoot from the outside either. So I think that would be one of the key factors in this game is how are they going to kind of limit his touches and how comfortable he gets. I think Dayton Albury is going to have his hands full on Thursday night.
Couple of other notes about Tulsa on the offensive side of the ball. They are number 136 in Ken Palm's adjusted tempo metric. That's the metric that measures how fast you play. Do you push the ball in transition? How quickly in the shot clock do you get the shot up? They are number 136. By comparison, UNM is number 48. And so I think Tulsa is more of a half-court team. Dad, Eric, you guys were both talking about some of their playmakers. Riley sets the table. Barnstable and Popula are the shooters. Not a team that likes to push the ball as much as UNM, though they will get in transition with Tylen Riley once in a while. 136 is right about middle of the pack in NCAA Division I. They're rebounding on the offensive side, 11 offensive rebounds per game. Average height in the starting lineup, you got Miles Barnstable at 6'2", Tylen Riley at 6'3", Ade Popula at 6'5", David Green at 6'7", and Tyler Barron at 6'10". So that's what the starting lineup looks like for the Golden Hurricane. Let's switch gears, Eric, and talk about Tulsa's defensive identity. The Golden Hurricane gives up 73 points per game. They hold teams to 42% from the field and 32% from three. Tulsa only forces 6 steals per game. By comparison, UNM forces 8. UNM also forces right around 14 turnovers per game. And then Tulsa is a very good defensive rebounding team, and they spread it around. You notice Tyler Barron, number 9, 6'10". He's their leading rebounder at 5.2 rebounds per game, but he only accounts for like a fifth of Tulsa's rebounding production. Dad, based on what you saw from Tulsa on film, what do you think about Tulsa's defensive identity?
They as you mentioned, they only average 6 steals a game. But the games that I saw them, they had some defensive breakdowns. They are, they've got some length on the wings, active hands in the passing lane. They did steal a little bit, but against North Texas and Wichita State, I noticed they had some defensive breakdowns, some miscommunications. So I think New Mexico can take advantage of that. Forcing only 6 steals is something that I think benefits UNM. If UNM takes care of the ball, and Uriah Tenet had 2 back-to-back games where he didn't have any turnovers. He's been played at a high level. And I think Eric's right at Dayton Albury. He should be 100%. He wasn't after he was sick from the flu. And I think having a week's rest will definitely benefit him. So I think their defense is good, but I also think New Mexico with the big man Barron, I think Tomislav Buljan will take advantage of his quickness against him and take him to the hole. So I think New Mexico has some advantages there with Tulsa's defense.
UNM men's basketball takes on Tulsa in the NIT semifinal on Thursday, April 2nd. Let's now talk about some more personnel for the Tulsa Golden Hurricane. Guys, we talked a lot about Tylen Riley, the 6'3 junior guard, number 10, 15 points per game, 4.4 assists per game, and 3.9 rebounds per game. Those are his numbers. He's a second-team All-AAC guard. Dad, you've mentioned Miles Barnstable quite a bit, and Eric, if we could maybe get the graphic up for him, 6'2 senior guard, second team All-AAC, averages 14 points, 3.8 rebounds per game, leads the team in 3-point field goal percentage, 41%. And what I can say, guys, is this is probably the closest thing to Jake Hall that Tulsa has in terms of an individual three-point shooter. 41% on high volume. He shot 241 threes on the season. By comparison, Jake Hall has shot 257 threes on the season. Jake Hall shoots 45% from three, and Miles Barnstable shoots 41% from three. He had 24 points in the NIT quarterfinal win over Wichita State, 5 of 9 from the three-point line. Eric, when you watch Miles Barnstable, what are your thoughts on him, man?
Pure catch and shoot guy, man. He's all over the floor. He's looking to come off ball screens. He's also looking to create off the dribble too. And he's not afraid to let it go, man. He's an elite shooter. And they're looking to find him any chance they get. These are guys that this is probably going to be, I would say, one of the most prominent three-point shooting teams that the Lobos have faced this year, because they shoot the three 1 to 5. I mean, even their bigs come out and will extend the defense a little bit. But this is the catalyst from the three-point line. This is the guy that's going to get them going. On that graphic that we had up earlier, he had 5 threes against the Wichita State matchup in the quarterfinal of the NIT. But he's been doing this kind of all season, man. And that's one guy the Lobos cannot lose around the perimeter. And he's not a guy that needs a whole lot of room either, right? Like, there's guys in his face. They're contesting a lot of his shots, and just on some of the highlights that I was able to see, he's still knocking them down with ease. He's got a really nice fluid jump shot motion. Even just to be able to come off the screen and I mean, coming off the bounce and being able to execute the way that he is, it's really impressive. So definitely got to mark him defensively. And in terms of a matchup perspective, it's really hard. I think the Lobos are probably going to stick with their constant switching on defense. So it's really going to be determined on knowing where the shooters are on the floor at all times. I don't look for them to match up one-on-one, but when they are in those switches or when they are in those pick and pops, they got to know where the shooters are at all times, because this is one of those guys that can hurt the Lobos if you let him get free.
Glad to have you with us here on the Pit Press Live. I am Nick Nunez, joined by Eric Moulton and Ed Nunez. We're breaking down UNM men's basketball's semifinal matchup against Tulsa. We're looking at Tulsa's personnel specifically, and let's transition now to talking about number 0, the junior guard, Ade Popula, at 6'5", was All-American honorable mention. He's a transfer from Moberly Area Community College, 10.7 points, 4.1 rebounds, and he leads the team in steals at 1.4 steals per game. Another high-volume three-point shooter. And, Dad, this is what makes Tulsa so scary, right? I mean, it's not just Barnstable. And, you can argue with UNM. Obviously, Jake Hall is our highest-volume three-point shooter. Uriah has shot well from the three-point line at times. Chol, at the beginning of the season, was shooting well. Luke Hopt has started to shoot better. But this Ade Popula guy is a volume three-point shooter, shoots about 7 per game. He's hoisted 226 threes on the season, hit a season-high 8 made three-pointers by himself in a loss to South Florida on February 8th. Tulsa is 16-1 when Popula makes 3 or more three-pointers a game. Dad, what are the challenges in defending two Jake Hall-type guys from the three-point line for Tulsa?
I think Eric made a good point there when you have to mark your shooters. And again, we have to say this too, that Coach Olin has scouted very well, I thought, against Sam Houston. I thought they did a great defensive job against them, against George Washington. Nick, you did a great preview of them, and you said they were going to shoot a lot of threes. They did. I didn't think the threes they shot were particularly effective. I thought some of them were off balance, kind of tossing them up at the end of the clock. So I think New Mexico has to fight through those screens, rotate, be disciplined defensively. They talked about Jake Hall's shot fake the other night with Barnstable. Eric's right. You give him a little bit of space, he's coming off picks, firing, and he's and once he gets rolling downhill, it's tough to stop. So I think with you have another one you mentioned, Adi Papula. New Mexico has to really do their scouting and talk defensively, rotate what they've been doing. I thought their defense against St. Joe's, New Mexico was down at the half, and as soon as Toscano went out with 4 fouls, New Mexico's fortunes turned. St. Joe's, he was their best defender. So I think New Mexico definitely has to stay disciplined defensively, what they've done so far throughout the NIT tournament. But this is going to be a different challenge than Sam Houston, St. Joe's, or GW. I think it's going to be a good challenge for New Mexico. And I think with Coach Olin's staff and the way they scout, they should be okay.
Rounding out Tulsa's starting lineup is going to be number 23, a 6'7" graduate student, a forward, David Green. He was first team All-American Athletic Conference, a Rhode Island transfer that last season for Rhode Island averaged 14.2 points per game, 5.2 rebounds per game. These are his numbers this season. Green is averaging 15.7 points per game, 4.6 rebounds per game. He's Tulsa's leading scorer, also a high percentage three-point shooter, 39% from three. He takes about 4 threes a game. Eric, when I was talking to you, man, you were like, this is the guy that I think UNM needs to shut down. He can score in a lot of different ways. What are your thoughts on Green?
Yeah, man, this is, to me, the guy that stirs Tulsa's drink. We talked about like Riley and the shooting ability of Barnstable, but David Green is the guy that's going to have the ball in his hands second most next to Riley, and he is a 3-level scorer. He's got some size to him. He can definitely shoot it from the outside. He's a lefty. He's elusive, and he's a matchup problem because he does have a little bit of size, but he's got that slashing ability, the ability to finish around the rim, to kind of take guys and isolate them if they need to. So this is the guy that they turn to when they need a bucket. And he's another guy that's just super efficient, 39% from three. But he does get a lot of his points in the paint. You said over 60% in the paint. So he's effective on all 3 levels, and he's just a really tough matchup for anybody. So I know we talked about marking the shooters on the perimeter, but this is a guy that you have to mark at all times, no matter where he's at on the floor. And Ed, I know that you were watching some tape on him too. What's your take on Green?
Very athletic. You mentioned a lefty. They showed him catching the ball in the post today. Fake 2 guys out, went to the rim and hammered. So he can do a lot of things. He really can. The shoulder, he's got a week to recover from that. So he should be. I don't know what percentage he'll be, but he's going to be in the lineup. And he's a guy that I would think Luke Hop's going to probably. They put Hopped on a lot of the slashers. Antonio Chol could be a very important player for UNM off the bench. He's played better defensively, got rebounds the last couple of games. I believe 6 rebounds in each of the last 2 games. They need an effort from him. He's 6'6", man. Or he's actually 6'8" or 6'9", I think. So they need him for a guy like Green. Let's see if he's up to the defensive challenge. Because Green, I think, man, that once that guy gets rolling downhill along with Tylen Riley, that's when think about it, 85 points. That's when they're at their best. So I was impressed with what I saw from Green today. I really was.
We should mention, like you said, Dad, David Green was injured in Tulsa's AAC semifinal loss to Wichita State. Did not play in the first 2 games in the NIT. Did play against Wichita State in the NIT quarterfinal. Had 5.6 rebounds in a little over 20 minutes of play. So his health status will be a concern. But like you said, Dad, he does get a week to rest the left shoulder. Let's round out kind of the rest of Tulsa's roster, right? We went through their main 4. Dad, you've talked already about Tyler Barron, the 6'10" junior forward, number 9. He's got a real interesting story, guys. I was listening to the broadcast on a couple of Tulsa's games, and this is a guy that served in the Navy for 4 or 5 years, started his college basketball career at a community college And he's been at Tulsa, I want to say, I'm not sure if this is his first or second season, but a glue guy for this team too. Like you said, Dad, gets a lot of rebounds, sets some big screens. I don't think they have a lot of depth at the post position, like you were talking about, Eric. They bring a guy off the bench, Ian Sminkle, and then KJ Martin. Ian Sminkle is number 35. He's 6'8". KJ Martin is 6'8". But other than that, off the bench, they got a guy, Ramad Dean, a 6'7" senior forward, number 6. He averages 5.1 points per game, 3.8 rebounds per game in about 16 minutes off the bench. Miles Rigsby, number 4, a 6'6" junior guard, 6.5 points per game off the bench. So not a lot of depth in the front court for Tulsa. I think that's going to be one of the keys to the game for UNM offensively, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. The last guy for Tulsa that I think is worth mentioning is number 2, Jalen Lawal, a 6'3" freshman guard, a 7.3 points per game, 2.2 rebounds per game. So he's the leading scorer off the bench for Tulsa, a 38% three-point shooter. He got hot against North Texas earlier this season in Tulsa's quarterfinal win in the AAC tournament. He scored 24 points. Tylen Riley was not playing well in that game. Tulsa went down 14-0, and Lawal started playing really well. So that's Tulsa's personnel. Eric, I don't know what you think is next or is best, man. Maybe we should switch gears and talk about Tulsa's road in the NIT quarterfinal, or excuse me, in the NIT up to this point.
Yeah, I have one final thought just to what
Sure.
Ed was talking about earlier with being able to defend Green. I think, yeah, definitely Luke Hopt, right? He's the no question, the no-brainer guy that's probably going to get the task to guard him. But then you also talked about bringing Chol into that mix too. And man, Nick, you talked about it just briefly when we were at the Mount West tournament in Vegas. You saw Chol there on the sideline when he wasn't starting. He was kind of getting some extra stretches in. He was riding the bike a lot. I just don't know if Chol has the side-to-side versatility, athleticism to guard a guy like this. And then I don't know if he's truly 100% healthy either, because you kind of brought up that point in the Mount West tournament. I know he was banged up early in the season, and I'm not here to speculate or anything, but just the way he's been playing, and it just seems he's a little step slow on the defensive side, just not being able to move as laterally. I don't know if you guys have any other additional thoughts on top of that, but I think Luke Hopt is the guy. It's just where else are they going to get the help? Because I think they're going to have to dig. They're going to have to close a lot of those gaps because he does like to get in the lane, and they're going to have to close those gaps, but they're also going to have to be really aware of when they are helping, how far can you help off the shooters that are going to stay on the perimeter. So I guess it's just kind of open for discussion.
Yeah, I got a thought on that too. I think that's a good point. I thought, Eric, that Chol had played pretty decent. He didn't make those shots in the first NIT game, but they were right there. I felt like he had rebounded, blocked a few shots, went to the rim and dunked against Sam Houston, or maybe it was against UW. But I was encouraged by that. So I don't know that he's hurting. I've seen him go to get boards more than I'd seen him rebound the past month. So they're going to need him if he's on the floor. And here's the old adage: if you're injured, sit down. If you're hurt, let's go. So if he's got a little nicks, I'm sure he'll be in the lineup. They're going to need him. They're going to need some length there. You mentioned Luke Hopt. He always draws the toughest defensive assignment. So I think you mentioned New Mexico is going to have to be, and some of the comments are saying that too, disciplined defensively, rotating, getting over screens. They struggled with that in the first half against St. Joe's and did a much better job of that in the second half. But I'll tell you this though, I've got a lot of confidence in Coach Olin's staff and what they've done defensively as far as coming up with the defensive game plan so far in the NIT. They've done a good job. So I've got confidence that they'll come up with a good game plan against Tulsa on Thursday night.
Let's go to some of the comments. This is from Nicholas. I'm going to butcher that name, 6361. Do and then we'll be in trouble with all the threes they hit. Have to play defensively. This is from John Romero. Lobos are going to poo-poo Tulsa's Papula. And then one more from Nicholas ending in 6361. Guards who can shoot. We need to be on fire defensively and not show up with our notorious slow starts. Couldn't agree more with that. I think that's a great point. Let's talk about how Tulsa started in the NIT. They started with an overtime win over Stephen F. Austin, 89-84 in OT. This was Jalen. It was 24 points off the bench for Jalen Lawal in this game. And then you had Popula, 18 points on 4 made three-pointers. We talked about it. When Popula hits 3 or more threes for Tulsa, that's number 0. They're usually 16-1 on the season. Then Tulsa knocked off UNLV 77-66. Miles Barnstable, 16 points. Tulsa out-rebounded UNLV 49-23 in that game. Got a lot of extra possessions. That was the game that Miles Barnstable, the 6'2 guard, set the single-season record for made threes on the season for Tulsa. He hit the 94 mark. He made 5 in the semifinal win over Wichita State. So Miles Barnstable, 99 made threes on the season. And then Tulsa, for the 4th time, plays conference rival Wichita State in the NIT quarterfinal. They defeat the Shockers 83-79. Miles Barnstable, 24 points. Tulsa was 10 for 17 from beyond the arc in the first half. So, guys, we've talked personnel. We've talked about their road in the NIT. Maybe we should talk about some keys to the game. We've kind of sprinkled them in here throughout the show. Once again, this is the Pit Press Live. I'm Nick Nunez along with Eric Moulton and Ed Nunez. Here are our keys to the game. Defend the three-point line. We've kind of talked about this a lot. And Eric, I kind of want to, take something that you said earlier, and Dad, I want to pivot this to you to see what your thoughts are just about how exactly does UNM defend the three-point line. Eric, I think you mentioned they got to switch screens early. I think I agree with that part. Maybe something else they need to do too is fight over screens. And one thing that UNM did a really good job of against George Washington, and George Washington head coach Chris Caputo talked about this. He said Uriah Tenet is very good at navigating screens and not getting hit. Dad, I think you hit a really important point earlier, and I want to hear your thoughts a little bit more. Tyler Barron, Tulsa's big guy, number 9, is the screen setter for that team. How important is it for UNM to get around screens against Tulsa?
It's imperative. And when you have, you mentioned, Nick, that he was in the Navy, so that guy's got a little bit different background. But Tomislav Buljan is 24 years old and has played professionally in Croatia. I think Buljan is going to take this personally, like he did against St. Joe's. He went right at it, man. 25 and 27 and 10 against St. Joe's. I thought he wanted to make sure that New Mexico was going to move on. So I think Barron is a big guy, kind of a plotter. But I think Buljan can definitely take it right at him. He's quicker. He has a quick jump. So I think it's imperative, too, though, that those screens, man, you have to fight over, communicate. New Mexico, for the most part, has done, I think, a pretty good job of doing that. They got caught up against San Diego State. They got caught up against St. Joe's in the first half of not doing that. And I thought they corrected that in the second half. And Coach Olin has been very honest when they haven't corrected it. He'll come in and say, we got out-coached, we got outplayed. We didn't do a good job. So I think they've had, 5 days to look at film. I think that's an advantage for sure for Coach Eric Olin in figuring out how he's going to defend this team. I think that's a huge advantage for him.
Eric, any final thoughts on defending the three-point line, or did you want to get to the next key?
Yeah, no, I do have a thought on that. And it's going to come down for me is how are they going to defend the screen? Because this team typically likes to pick and pop. They're not doing a whole lot of roll into the basket, so they're screening, and the guy that's the screener is kind of flashing out to the three-point line. And what the Lobos have done kind of throughout the whole season and what has got them in trouble is when they are defending those screens, you can see the bigs are defending more of the roll, so they're playing that drop coverage. They allowed that against like a Colorado State where they got torn up from the three-point line in that game here at the Pit because they were dropping too much. They were letting the bigs get open around the perimeter. You can't do that against a team like this. You're going to have to face up. You're going to have to guard. You're going to have to fight over those screens. But if you're the big that's defending that pick and roll, you're going to have to show, and you're going to have to show early. Keep them honest. When you're closing out, you're not going to fly at the shooters because you're either going to foul them or they're just going to pump fake and sidestep you or somehow get to the lane. So you're going to have to show. I think the closeouts you're going to have to be real disciplined on, and you're just going to have to be really smart about marking the right guys and knowing is this guy going to be able to get over the screen? Is he going to recover, or am I going to have to play up closer to the perimeter? Like I said, they just don't have that strong, dominant presence inside. They're more of like a 5-out offense, and some of their bigs can knock it down from the perimeter. So it's going to come down to how well the Lobos kind of defend that overall pick and roll game.
I agree with that, man. We're talking UNM men's basketball's keys to the game against Tulsa in the NIT semifinal. One other thought on defending the three-point line, because again, this is a Tulsa team that shoots a lot of threes. They got a drive and kick, right? I think they got to stop ball penetration, and we'll talk about that, not just on the pick and roll, but allowing Tylen Riley to get downhill, allowing David Green to get downhill. Tulsa does get some drive and kick threes where they just get dribble penetration. And so, it's going to be interesting for UNM. UNM has had that defensive philosophy all season that we're going to protect the paint first. Somebody drives, we're going to protect the paint. You protect the paint, you're leaving a shooter open. So I think that's to your point, Eric. You got to know when you're guarding Papula. You got to know when you're guarding Barnstable. The other key in defending the three-point line is also marking guys in transition. A lot of the time you get cheap threes in transition because guys just aren't matched up. Jake Hall did that a lot against St. Joseph's, particularly at the beginning of the second half. So you've got to make sure that you mark guys in transition, know where the shooters are at all times. Looking to our next key of the game, I think, Eric, what it says on the screen is disrupt Tylen Riley. But, Dad, I think it's not just Tylen Riley, it's everybody. You said you watched that North Texas AAC quarterfinal game. Again, Tulsa went down 14-0. Tulsa ended up having 18 turnovers in that game. And North Texas just really sped them up, did not let them get comfortable, was very physical with Tulsa on the defensive end. And you got to feel like that plays to UNM's advantage because against three opponents, Sam Houston, George Washington, and St. Joseph's, UNM really turned up the defensive pressure. Seems like that's going to be a key against Tulsa.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I thought they did that against Sam Houston very well. They got Po' Boy King got hurt, and then their other guy got in foul trouble. So I think, yes. Again, though, I say this again. I think Eric Olin having, a week to prepare, that's a huge advantage for UNM. I really believe that. You mentioned, Eric, some of they've gotten in trouble with the drop coverage against Boise State as well. They got lit up, by I can't remember his name, but he was 5 of 10 from three-point land. They didn't go out and cover him. So they've got to figure that out. And Coach Olin, like I said, he knows they've had problems with that drop coverage. So I think having him, have a couple of extra days to prepare is only a huge advantage for them. So I think you're right, Nick. They've got to turn up that defense. There's so many threats out here to make the Tulsa offense, which averages 85 points a game, uncomfortable. Make them feel uncomfortable, not comfortable in what they're running. Bust the cutters, the whole thing. You've got to be aware of where their shooters are. They've got guys that can score, man. So it's going to be a big challenge for UNM on Thursday night for sure.
Eric, quick question for you, man. Because if you look at UNM's numbers, just the last 3 games in the NIT, all home games for the Lobos, they're playing at the Pit. They forced 14 turnovers against Sam Houston, 14 turnovers against George Washington, 10 turnovers against St. Joseph's. They were able to get out in transition, plays to their style. UNM is number 48 in the KEDPOM adjusted tempo. But, Eric, one thing the Lobos will not have in Indianapolis is the Pit crowd, is elevation. How much do you think that is a factor in how UNM approaches this game?
It is a factor, and they're going to have to come up with a way to kind of develop their own energy. Come out of the gate. I think we had someone comment on the show earlier, like with the slow starts. They can't afford to get out to a slow start to this one because this is a team that's looking to pull the trigger fast and often. And if this gets to a shootout right away, like the Lobos are going to have to bring the energy from the get-go. They're going to have to lock in on defense, and they're going to have to figure out their own way to bring the energy, because I don't know how many Lobo fans are going to travel. Lobo fans typically travel well, but to make the trip out there, I know flights are really expensive. I know that the bus crew was trying to get together, but I mean, I can't imagine it's going to be the Pit North, right? Like just like it was in Vegas, but I think them kind of controlling the tempo early and being able to create turnovers based off of their energy, their physicality, they're they're gonna have to light their own fire here.
Talking keys to the game in UNM's semifinal matchup with Tulsa in the NIT semifinal. Our last key to the game against Tulsa is get to the rim, attack the paint, and get Barron in foul trouble. In particular, as far as getting to the rim, Dad, Tulsa averages 2.4 blocks per game. They have not a lot of rim protection. I'll be honest, that's number 312 in all of college basketball, 2.4 blocks per game. So I think that's a huge factor for UNM. A couple other notes in losses that Tulsa has had this season to Wichita State and South Florida. They've been massively outscored in the paint, in particular against Wichita State earlier this season. Tulsa was outscored 52-26 in the paint, and we talked about the lack of depth that Tulsa has at the post position. Dad, how important is it for UNM to get to the rim and be efficient at the rim?
That's why I think Dayton Albury being having a week now to recover from we knew he wasn't himself last Tuesday. He wasn't 100%, not close to it. 15 good minutes, but he usually plays a lot more than that. And they like the rim pressure, to pressure the rim. I can't tell you what he's a big key to Thursday night, a huge key for the defense on Riley. And then Uriah Tenet has also been playing well. When New Mexico gets 2 feet in the paint, that's where they succeed on offense. They like those paint touches, and Tenet, Albury attacking the rim, drawing fouls, or dumping it off to Bouillon, or kicking it out to Hop or a shooter, especially Jake Hall. They've got to deal with stuff too. We're talking about New Mexico defensively. Tulsa's got to deal with stuff. The pancake flips both ways. So I think having Albury back 100% is a huge key. I think they're going to be able to attack that rim. I do. I really do. Those downhill drives by Albury have only been stopped by a few teams. A few teams in the conference did a real good job on him. I'm sure Tulsa's scouted them very well. They don't want to get Riley in foul trouble either. That'd be good too if New Mexico could get Todd and Riley in foul trouble and put him on the bench. So, I think that rim pressure is a huge key for New Mexico. That's the way Eric Olin likes to play. He's always mentioned that from the season opener. We want to put pressure on the rim and attack, and I expect Dayton Albury to be a main cog in that attack on Thursday night.
Eric, my dad talked about Dayton Albury, but what about Tomislav Bouillon? Haven't talked a ton about him. He's coming off 27 points, 11 rebounds against St. Joseph's in the quarterfinal. He's going to match up with Tyler Barron. Bouillon, a huge paint presence for UNM. What kind of game do you expect from him?
Well, I'm going to just defer to this comment here because I think Steve Singletary is spot on. We need a lot of scoring in the paint to soften their defense on the perimeter. I mean, it's pretty clear that once the Lobos establish an inside game, especially against a team that doesn't have that notorious rim defender, they don't have that big body down low, they have a bunch of elusive type players. So if Bouillon can get going down low, he also draws a ton of fouls. I think getting to the free throw line, knocking down free throws when he can. I mean, you talked about one of the keys to the game is with Barron getting into foul trouble. He's probably going to end up having to draw that matchup against Bouillon, and Bouillon is just going to outweigh him by like 20 or 30 pounds. Once Bouillon gets his inside touches, it's really hard to stop him down low, man. So I think the Lobos got to start inside. Once they get that inside game established, then they're going to start drawing some of the defenders to double team, and that's when you're going to start finding some of the shooters on the perimeter. And then you look at a guy like Albury, maybe he is a little bit better with his eye and sunglass situation. If he can get downhill, he can start getting into those pockets and creating those driving lanes, get into the paint. Uriah Tenet, another one of those guys. I mean, Tulsa is going to have to find answers for these guys too. So, going to be an interesting matchup. I think it's a little bit two different styles of play, but the Lobos might have a little bit more depth kind of in all facets of the game, where I think Tulsa is more perimeter focused, doesn't really have the inside presence. So it'll be interesting to see how Olin and co draw it up. But
UNM men's basketball opens as a 4.5-point favorite over Tulsa. Ken Palm predicts this game as an 82-79 win for the Lobos. Dad, you got to make a pick, man. Do the Lobos get it done and advance to the NIT championship, or does Tulsa knock the Lobos off?
One quick point about the crowd. I think Eric made a good point, but I want to make a point about it too. New Mexico benefited from 8,000, 7,000, and 9,000. And those crowds, Nick, you and I were near the floor last week sitting on press row, and that crowd sounded like it was 12. Simpson, the player from St. Joe's, mentioned it was a great atmosphere. He was glad he was able to play in it. Not having that atmosphere, and Bobby Aragon was trying to get a bus trip going there, and it's hard to get there. So I think Eric's right. They're not going to have quite the crowd that they're used to having even in Las Vegas. So it's going to be a totally neutral game. They might have 100, 200, who knows how many fans. But I'm going to say, I think in watching Tulsa today and watching Sam Houston, I think New Mexico is the better team. I do. I really do. They're going to have to, play a good defensive game. We mentioned the threats that Tulsa presents. But remember, Tulsa has to defend UNM as well. And I think New Mexico's had a good NIT tournament. And I think it continues. I think New Mexico gets it done on Thursday night and advances to the NIT finals.
Eric, your final pick, man. Lobos 4.5-point favorite. They're picked to win this game by 3 on Ken Palm. What do you think, man?
I'm going to have to stick with the Lobos here, too. I think they're the more well-rounded team. When you look around all college basketball now, especially in March, the teams that are winning are the teams that are dominating the game inside. It's not just a perimeter style play anymore. I think you can control the pace and the tempo of a lot of games, and you draw a lot of fouls, you get guys in foul trouble, and you can kind of dictate how the outcomes might be there. And then, two, I think with UNM throughout the course of the season has played a much stronger schedule. I'm not discounting Tulsa by any means, but when you look at kind of their overall makeup, I think this game against UNM is probably going to be their highest Ken Palm matchup of the entire season. So I think UNM is playing really well right now. I think they're motivated. They're like Ed just talked about, they've allowed Olin to game plan for a full week. And that's what Olin does. And he puts together a really good game plan, and he finds the advantages and the margins. So I think the Lobos are built to win this game. I think they're more well-rounded. I think they can get it from a few different areas. Now it's just coming out and executing on the road, where they're not going to have the pit crowd and they're not going to have elevation at their back. So they're going to have to light their own fire. But I think UNM has more than enough to get this one done.
I agree with both you guys, man. I got the Lobos winning this one. And I don't know if it's going to be that close. I know no disrespect to Tulsa. And it very well could be that Tulsa wins. But I think if UNM does win this game, I think it could be by double digits, man. Tulsa, to me, their personnel, yes, they're a terrific offensive team. And if they get hot from 3, it'll be very difficult for UNM. But Tulsa doesn't have a lot of size. Think about the teams that UNM has really struggled with, at least down the stretch of the conference season. Got swept by Boise State, lost twice to San Diego State. Had a dogfight with Nevada at home and then lost at their place. Those are all teams that have size and girth inside, and not just guys that can score, but that pose problems for UNM inside offensively. They don't let Albury and Bouillon finish easily at the rim. I just don't think Tulsa has that personnel. So I got the Lobos potentially with a double-digit win. We're wrapping up the show, guys. I know we're going to try to go live tomorrow. We want to start the show possibly at 7:30 p.m. Mountain Time. And Dad, why don't you tell us who our guest may be?
It's going to be a Lobo legend, and I kind of want it to be a surprise, but he played in the 90s under Coach Dave Bliss, teammate. I'll give you hints for Lobo fans that will remember him. Teammate of Ike Williams, of Greg Brown, that group there, Marlo White. You'll probably be able to guess it by them. So we're looking forward to having him on tomorrow night. We haven't done a Lobo Legend series in a while, and I think people will enjoy this guest. He's a darn good Lobo man. So he's looking forward to coming on, and we're looking forward to talking to him tomorrow night.
Eric, we will not just be joined hopefully by a former Lobo, but I know you've been speaking with some folks from the Golden Hurricanes. They're a podcast that covers Tulsa athletics. Tell us who we may also talk to tomorrow after the former Lobo.
I didn't catch his name, but we got some hosts of the Golden Hurricanes podcast group that kind of cover Tulsa basketball the same way that we cover UNM athletics. So excited to talk to those guys and kind of get their inside perspective. They're riding a high now too. Their team's in the NIT Final Four, and they followed this team throughout the whole season. So we'll get their perspective and just kind of shoot it back and forth. So looking forward to talking with those guys as well.
Final notes for tonight's show on the Pit Press Live. UNM spring football kicked off this week. Hopefully we can chat about that maybe a little bit tomorrow or later this week. We'll try to get some coverage of that as well. UNM women's basketball reportedly is closing in on 2 finalists. Ken Sickinger had an article in the Albuquerque Journal that there could potentially be 2 finalists that UNM has narrowed it down to. So we'll keep an eye on that. This has been another episode of the Pit Press Live. We gave a preview of UNM men's basketball's semifinal matchup against Tulsa. Once again, Thursday, 5 p.m. Mountain Time tip-off on ESPN. For Eric Moulton, Ed Nunez, I'm Nick Nunez. Thank you for tuning in to the Pit Press Live.